A seasoned Navy SEAL and his faithful K9 partner prowled the icy borders of Everpine when the dog abruptly stopped, ears pricked, breath forming clouds in the frosty air. Through the wild roar of the blizzard echoed a sound no soldier could turn away from, the faintest cry of a baby. Beneath a bench buried in snow, a woman clung tightly to her infant, both shivering on the fragile edge of silence. That night, duty transformed into compassion, and survival morphed into an unbreakable bond of love. What the SEAL and his dog did next would thaw the iciest hearts, proving sometimes the boldest rescues happen far beyond the battlefield. Before we dive in, tell us where you're watching from. And if this story touches your soul, hit subscribe so you never miss another saga of loyalty, courage, and heart. Your support truly means everything. Snow fell like shattered crystal from the sky, blanketing the humble mountain town of Everpine in a merciless, endless white. The storm howled through the towering pines, bending them like weary soldiers, their frozen branches groaning under the weight. Logan Pierce steered his aged Ford pickup down the deserted lakeside road, headlights cutting through the storm's fury. Once a Navy SEAL, now a volunteer with the Civilian Security Patrol, he had swapped the chaos of combat for the hush of snowfall. At 35 years old, with cropped brown hair and a square jaw marked by a faint scar near his cheek, Logan wore the face of a man who had witnessed too much and spoken too little. His beard was neatly trimmed, dusted with early gray, and his blue eyes, cold and unwavering, carried the heavy weight of countless nights spent waiting for dawn in a war zone that lingered within him. Riding shotgun was Echo, a 4-year-old German shepherd with black and tan fur and keen amber eyes that missed nothing. Trained as a military working dog, Echo had stood alongside Logan on search and rescue missions throughout Afghanistan. He moved with the poised grace of a hunter, but when he locked eyes with Logan, his gaze was tender, fiercely loyal, and endlessly patient. The windshield wipers scrapped loudly, battling the heavy snow. The radio crackled with the town's patrol update visibility less than 10 meters. "All units please return to base." Logan switched off the radio and whispered to Echo, "One last loop, then we call it a night. Home." The word had lost its meaning. His cabin on Pine Hill sat silent. Too silent ever since Sarah, his wife, had perished 3 winters ago in a car crash while he was deployed overseas. She had been gentle and soft-spoken, with chestnut hair and warm green eyes that once filled their small kitchen with laughter. But that laughter faded long before the storm, replaced by a guilt Logan could never shake. Echo's ears pricked sharply, his body tensing, nose pressed to the foggy window. Then came the sound, faint, nearly swallowed by the howling wind. A soft whimper. Logan eased the truck to a stop. "What is it, boy?" Echo barked, sharply urgent, then sprang toward the passenger door. Logan's heart quickened. He grabbed his flashlight and stepped into the storm. The cold bit fiercely through his heavy tactical jacket, but he pressed forward, tracking Echo's paw prints in the snow. Then he saw them, a pair of shapes, huddled on a park bench, half buried beneath deep snowdrifts. His flashlight's beam illuminated a young woman curled forward, arms wrapped desperately around a tiny bundle pressed to her chest. "Ma'am," Logan called out, kneeling beside her. Logan watched in silence. Her dark hair, matted and frozen with ice, framed a face so pale it seemed to glow against the nighttime shadows. Her lips had turned blue, and her eyelashes were iced over. He brushed the snow from her shoulders, feeling the faint, fragile rise and fall of her breath. The baby stirred weakly, a barely audible whimper cutting through the howling storm like a whispered prayer. Logan's chest tightened with aching hope. "Hey there, little one," he whispered softly. "Hold on." He unfastened his jacket and pulled out a thermal rescue blanket from his equipment. The woman's hands were rigid. Gently, he eased them open to wrap the baby safely. The infant was tiny, red-faced, no older than a few months. Weakly, the child's eyes fluttered open. Logan felt the baby's faint but steady pulse beneath his fingertips. Echo, the loyal dog, circled close, pressing his warm body against the woman's legs to share what heat he could. Steam rose from Echo's fur as the snow melted around him. Logan glanced down at him. "Good boy. Stay with her," he said quietly. With the steady hand honed through years of battlefield triage, Logan checked the woman's vital signs again. Her pulse was faint, but there. Carefully, he lifted both mother and child into his arms, straining through the weight and the relentless storm. Her head sagged against his shoulder, wet strands brushing gently against his cheek. Her scent cold air rain, and a faint sweet trace tugged a memory from deep within. Sarah waving from his porch as he left for deployment. For a fleeting moment past and present collided. He blinked hard, gripping the woman closer. "Not this time," he whispered fiercely. "I'm not losing you too." Bracing against the whiteout, he hurried to the truck, snow blurring his every step, boots crunching through deep drifts. Echo raced ahead, barking into the storm, clearing the way. The truck's headlights pierced the curtain of snow, a steady beacon of hope in a merciless night. Logan laid the woman across the back seat, pulled his thick parka over her, and pressed the baby gently to her chest. Echo jumped inside too, curling up beside them, fur trembling, but steadfast to keep the little one warm. As Logan turned the ignition, the truck groaned at first, then roared defiantly to life. He steered onto the narrow mountain road toward Pine Hill wipers, battling the storm's fury. Outside was a world swallowed by white chaos, but inside the truck the sound of a heartbeat echoed tiny, steady and alive. Logan glanced in the rearview mirror. The woman's fingers twitched faintly as she stirred. "You're safe now," he murmured. "I've got you." The baby responded with a soft, hopeful sigh. Echo lifted his head and nudged the infant gently with his nose, as if to promise, "We're not going anywhere." The road curved upward, the snow devouring the tracks behind them. As the truck vanished into the storm, a gust of wind swept something off the bench they'd just left behind. A crumpled piece of paper danced through the freezing night air, beneath the dim glow of a streetlight. It snagged on a fence post, revealing faded letters frozen beneath the frost shelter of hope. The storm raged on all night. By dawn, the world beyond Logan's cabin lay buried beneath a silent sea of white. No road, no sky. Just snow pressing against the windows like a living, breathing thing. The wind howled through the chimney, but inside, the firelight flickered warmly across wood-paneled walls, lined with old Navy photos and medals dulled by time. Maya Quinn rested on the couch wrapped in wool blankets. Her skin, once gray from frostbite, now bore a faint blush. She was in her mid-20s. Her skin, once pale and numb from frostbite, now carried a subtle hue. She was in her mid-20s. She was delicate and frail, dark hair tumbling loosely across her cheeks, her skin so pale it seemed to drink in the firelight's glow. Even while asleep, her lips quivered, as if her body still carried the chill of the near-fatal cold she'd endured. Logan sat quietly at the table, a weathered tin cup rolling between his rough, calloused hands. His face bore a scruffy stubble unshaven for days. The silence around him weighed heavier than the hush of battle. At least in combat, he had orders to follow. Here, only questions haunted him. Echo lay close by the couch, head resting near the baby's basket. The dog's ears twitched at every soft whimper from Noah, whose breath formed delicate clouds that flickered in the fire's warmth. The boy, just 9 months old, was tiny, swaddled in a blue blanket taken from Logan's toolbox. Whenever he slept, his tiny fists were clenched as if gripping an unseen promise. Maya stirred her lashes, fluttering, then slowly she opened her eyes. The firelight caught a deep hazel in them, awake, but distant, like someone awakening from a nightmare that refused to release her. She tried to sit up, but pain flickered across her face. "Take it easy." Logan's voice was soft but firm, the kind of calm that demands respect. Yet beneath it bubbled an unexpected warmth, one that surprised even him. "You're safe now. You've been out cold for almost a whole day." Her eyes flicked toward the window. "Where am I?" she asked weakly. "In my cabin, Pine Hill," he answered. "The storm's fierce. No one's going anywhere for a while." She nodded faintly. Then her gaze dropped to Echo. The dog lifted his head but stayed put, as if sensing her fear. "He won't hurt you," Logan assured her. "Echo's more disciplined than most people I know." Maya exhaled a breath that was almost a laugh. Then her eyes turned toward the basket holding her sleeping baby, whispering Noah. Logan followed her glance. "He's strong hungry too. I found a can of formula from last winter, it was still good. Fed him a little." Tears welled in Maya's eyes. "You fed him?" Logan shrugged. "It didn't feel right to let him go hungry while you were fighting to survive." Silence settled between them, broken only by the crackling fire. Later, when she had gathered enough strength to sip warm tea, Logan's voice softened as he asked, "What happened to you out there?" For a long moment, Maya didn't answer. Her hands trembled around the mug. Finally, a whisper escaped. "Have you ever heard of Shelter of Hope?" Logan frowned. "Sounds like a charity." "It's not," she said, her voice tight with pain. "They find women like me homeless, desperate with babies. They promise food protection, a fresh start. But once you arrive, the doors lock from the outside." Logan's fingers froze mid-motion. That tone he recognized, its stories too grim to fully name. "They make us work cleaning sorting packages, whatever they want. If you resist, they punish you or send you away. Some women never come back." Her eyes reflected the firelight. As she continued, "I ran the moment a guard fell asleep. I took Noah and left everything behind." Echo shifted ears, flattening, as if he understood the horror too. Logan leaned back, jaw clenched tight. His military training told him to stay detached, but a fierce heat twisted inside him. Anger, sorrow, maybe both. "Did you go to the police?" "They said there was no record." "The place doesn't exist on any paper," she said, bitterly. "They called me unstable, a woman broken by loss and trauma after childbirth." Logan stared into the fire's flicker, the crackling like gunfire on desert nights. Moments when he vowed to protect those who couldn't protect themselves. And now here was this trembling woman, fragile and afraid, yet somehow still fighting to survive, forsaken by the very system he once dedicated himself to protecting. "There's no need to fear here," he finally spoke. "No one's taking your boy, not with me around." Her eyes flickered toward him, wary, searching for the truth. "Why are you helping us?" He hesitated, choosing his words carefully. "Because someone should have been there for my wife, too." Maya's brow knitted in concern, but he offered no further explanation. Rising, he stirred the dying fire and stacked fresh logs. Outside, the wind howled relentlessly, yet inside the cabin, a gentle warmth took hold. Hours slipped by. Logan prepared a small bowl of oatmeal, mashed it tenderly, and fed baby Noah with a spoon. The infant cooed softly, his tiny fingers reaching out to touch the dog's soft fur. Echo licked those fingers, tail thumping gently against the floor. A faint smile appeared on Maya's lips, the first in a long while. "He's fond of your dog," she murmured. "Most people are," Logan replied, eyes softening with an unspoken understanding. As night fell once more, the storm's fury intensified. Logan checked the generator. It was dead. He lit an oil lamp. Shadows flickered against the cabin walls. Maya cradled Noah by the fire, humming a fragile melody barely louder than the whining wind. Logan sat near the window rifle, resting across his knees by instinct, listening intently to the storm's rage. For a brief moment, he pictured Sarah there with him, her laughter and voice haunting the silence, stirring a longing he thought buried deep. Turning back to the fire, Maya's face glowed softly in the lamp's flicker. Fear still lingered in her eyes, but it had softened into something new trust. Outside snow piled ever higher, sealing them off from the world outside. Yet inside the cabin, for the first time in many years, Logan didn't feel the crushing silence of grief, but the fragile stirrings of life returning. Echo sighed quietly, resting his head on his paws, steadfastly guarding mother and child. Logan whispered softly into the fire, as if speaking to Sarah's memory. Maybe healing begins like this, one storm at a time. Beyond the window, the blizzard raged on, wiping away their tracks, as if destiny itself was determined to have them vanish together into the night. By morning, the storm had settled, leaving the forest glazed in a brittle frost. The world outside Logan's cabin sparkled like shattered glass under a pale sun, but the stillness in the air was unsettling, too quiet to trust. Logan poured steaming coffee into a tin cup, the warmth rising between his scarred fingers. His body ached from restless nights, but his mind remained razor-sharp. War had taught him that danger rarely announced its approach. It crept silently through serene mornings like this one. Maya sat by the window, wrapped in a flannel blanket. Her dark hair, freshly washed and brushed, fell loosely over her shoulders. She watched the snow-laden trees, her gaze distant yet more peaceful than before. On the couch, Noah slept soundly in a woven basket Logan had crafted from an old laundry crate and blankets. Echo sat nearby, eyes half closed, ears alert to every creak of the wood. "You'll be able to leave once the road's clear," Logan said quietly. Maya turned, voice barely above a whisper. "And go where?" He hesitated, sipping his coffee. "We'll figure it out when it's safe." Before the words fully faded, a sharp knock resonated at the cabin door. Both froze. Echo lifted his head, growling low and warning. Logan's muscles tensed, instinct taking hold. Few dared to venture this far up Pine Hill, and none came without purpose. He moved to the window and cracked the curtain just enough to peer out. A man stood on the porch, wrapped tightly in a thick government-issued parka. His gloved hand gripped a folder. The snow's reflection veiled most of his face, but his posture was impeccable, steady, commanding authority. Logan cracked the door open halfway. A blast of cold air and the scent of damp leather swept inside. "Can I help you?" The stranger's smile was courteous, yet professional. He appeared to be in his 40s, tall but slightly hunched, as if unfamiliar with the chill. His cheeks were clean-shaven, his hair clipped short, flecked with gray at the temples. His badge caught the light Child Protective Services. "I'm Mr. Alton," he said warmly, though the friendliness didn't quite reach his eyes. "We received a report of a missing infant. May I come in?" Logan remained still, instincts prickling. "Who filed that report, I'm not authorized to say," Sir Alton replied smoothly. He pulled a paper from the folder and held it up. "A routine welfare check, supposedly." Logan took the document, his soldier's eye spotting every flaw instantly. The font wasn't the federal typeface used on official CPS forms. The seal looked bleary, like a photocopy. The phone number listed didn't match any government office he'd ever known. Outside near the pines stood a black SUV. No license plates, no antenna, no decals. Behind him, Echo's growl deepened. The fur along the dog's spine rose like a ridge. "Nice try on the paperwork," Logan said calmly, folding the paper. "You should have double-checked the font before printing. Helvetica, not Arial. Dead giveaway." Alton's smile wavered for the first time. "Sir, this isn't a joke. That child could be in danger." Logan cut in sharply. "He's been in danger until I found him." The silence that followed was sharp, like frozen steel. A crow cawed somewhere off in the distance. Logan stepped forward, his voice dropping to an icy edge. "You'd better leave before this storm gets any worse." The man studied him, his jaw, tight eyes flicking past Logan to Maya and the baby. Then, with a stiff nod, he stepped back into the snow. "Very well," he said, voice brittle now. "You'll be hearing from my office." The door thudded shut. Logan locked it, bolted it, then glanced out the window again. Alton moved briskly to his SUV, wiped snow from the windshield, and drove away. Too smoothly for some government agent stranded on a mountain road. Ma's voice shook. "Who was that, not who?" He claimed Logan answered. He laid the counterfeit form on the table, leaning in to examine the logo closely. Shelter of Hope. A chill ran through him. He powered up his laptop, launched an old satellite uplink, and entered the URL printed on the paper. The site looked legitimate, photos of smiling women, mission statements about restoring dignity. But beneath the page's code, his system caught a signal tag, an embedded IP tracker designed to trace visitors. "They know where we are," he muttered. Maya covered her mouth with trembling hands. "They're coming." "Maybe not yet," he said, "but soon enough." He reached for the radio on the shelf and tuned the frequency. After a few moments of static, a voice replied, sharp, low, familiar. "Peace, it's been a long while." "Too long," Logan answered. "I'm Amira. I need a favor." "Sergeant, I'm Amira Torres, one of his old comrades, now part of the FBI's trafficking unit." In his mind, he could still picture her clearly. Latina in her early 30s, eyes dark and sharp like obsidian, her hair pulled back in a no-nonsense braid. She had always been the steady voice on the team, calm under pressure, fierce when backed into a corner. "Send me the coordinates," Amira said, "and don't do anything reckless until I get there." "No promises," Logan replied, a half-smile breaking through his tension. When the call ended, he packed a small tactical pack flashlight, extra ammo field camera, then turned to Maya. "If I'm right, they aren't just after you. They're hiding something huge. I need proof. Are you really heading out?" she whispered. "Only for a few hours." He glanced at Echo, already by the door, tail stiff, eyes razor sharp. "Stay," Logan ordered instinctively. Echo didn't budge, locking eyes with Logan, steady and resolute, loyal as ever. Maya gave a faint smile. "He always finds his way back, always." Logan sighed, slinging his rifle over his shoulder. "Then we both know what the rules are." He placed his old Navy knife on the table just beside Maya's hand. "If anything goes wrong, use this. Don't hesitate." Snowflakes slipped through the cracks in the door as he opened it. The cold rushed in like a wall. "Lock it behind me," he said. And as he stepped outside, with Echo, into the blinding white, the cabin slipped back into silence, 3 lives wrapped in warmth, unaware of how close the storm truly was. The snow had frozen hard overnight, a brittle crust cracking like shattered glass beneath Logan's boots. The sun hung pale and distant, low over the endless forest. He moved through the stillness with the practiced grace of a man who'd learned to make the wilderness his shield. Beside him, Echo trotted through powdery drifts, his black and tan coat dusted with frost breath, puffing like smoke into the chill. Every few steps, the dog paused, nose close to the ground, tail rigid. Logan trusted that stance more than any satellite tracker. "Easy, boy," he whispered. "Lead the way." The GPS in Logan's hand blinked faintly green, the signal drawing deeper into the forest. According to Amamira's quick message, there were rumors of an abandoned ranger station used during wildfire seasons. That place might hold the missing link between Shelter of Hope's public face and whatever secret operation lurked beneath. Her calm voice echoed from their last call. Clear, clipped, efficient. "Don't wait for backup, Logan. Just observe, document, and get out," he'd replied. "Copy that," though he knew full well he'd never just observe if someone was still trapped inside. As they neared the station, the sun was already slipping past the ridge. The building stood crooked, half buried beneath snow, its roof bowed under layers of ice, the worn forestry emblem barely visible on the wooden door. But what caught Logan's attention was a faint tire track frozen in the ground, fresh less than a day old. He knelt, brushing snow away with his gloved fingers. "Someone's been here," he murmured. Echo's ears pricked forward, a low growl humming in his chest. The dog's instincts never lied. Logan drew his pistol, a suppressed Sig Sauer P226, the familiar model he carried overseas. The weapon felt like an extension of his hand. They approached the door, which had been smashed. Inside, the air smelled of metal and disinfectant, not decay, but cleaning agents. Logan's gut tightened. He pushed the door wide open. The station had been devastated and reinvented. Sturdy metal shipping containers were stacked along the walls, filled with boxes labeled as medical supplies. He forced one open. Inside lay ID cards, passports, cherished family photos, women, children, faces of souls who had simply vanished. Some photos looked fresh, printed on glossy paper, names hurriedly scribbled on the back. Logan's breath caught. Damn. He started filming with his body cam, quietly narrating for the FBI's records. This evidence confirms human trafficking activity, multiple victims involved in a cross-state operation. This isn't just local. Amira, this is nationwide. Echo pressed ahead, sniffing one container. His paw scraped the ground, revealing a small vent pipe half buried in the snow. Logan trailed his dog's lead lowered and listened. A hum, soft and mechanical, vibrated from below. It was a generator. That meant someone was still using this place. He snapped his head up sharply. The faint crunch of tires echoed through the quiet forest. In moments, the low growl of an engine surged closer. Logan ducked behind the containers, peering through a crack in the shattered wall. A black SUV glided into view, headlights off. Two men emerged, moving with precision and purpose. Both wore winter camouflage parkas and carried sidearms. One was tall and lean, his beard flecked with gray. The other was stocky, a scar cutting across his chin. Echo crouched near Logan, body-coiled muscles trembling with held-back energy. The dog's gaze never left the men's every move. 2 tangos, Logan whispered. Hold until I give the word. The taller man opened the door flashlight, sweeping the room. Are you certain the tracker sent a ping here? Positive, the other answered. The boss said the seal was sniffing around. If he found this spot, he never got to finish the thought. Echo sprang from shadow to light, a blur of fur and fierce teeth. His fierce growl shattered the silence like a thunderclap. The stocky man dropped hard, cursing as the dog tore into his arm. The second man swung his flashlight, But Logan was already in motion, rolling, low pistol raised. One steady breath, one sharp squeeze. A muffled shot rang out. The beam went dark and clattered to the floor. The fight was over in seconds. At Logan's command, Echo released the downed man, retreating quickly back to his side. Blood speckled the snow. Logan checked the pulse of the still living man. He was alive but knocked out cold. You chose the wrong mountain, friend. He searched their pockets, found no IDs, only prepaid burner phones and a key fob embossed with the same Shelter of Hope logo on its face. He pulled out his phone, sent the footage to Amir through a secure channel, and attached the GPS coordinates. Data package sent. Evidence authenticated, he whispered into this recorder. Suddenly, a sharp beep cut through the transmission. Static burst from his radio, the same one he'd left with Maya. Through the hiss, her voice came faint and trembling. Logan, there's someone outside. 2 cars. I think they found us. His heart sank. Maya, listen carefully. Lock the door. Keep silent. I'm coming back. The line went dead. Outside, the woods had fallen eerily silent again. The SUV idled, exhaust steaming in the cold air. Logan holstered his pistol, slung his rifle over his shoulder, and whistled softly. Echo was at his side, instantly, limping just a little, but eager to move. He crouched, pressing a gloved hand to the dog's neck. Good work, soldier. Now we move. Without a backward glance at the chaos inside, Logan slipped silently into the trees. The road back to Pine Hill stretched far and wide, but the image of Maya clutching Noah, isolated and terrified, pierced the cold like a raging fire. As he vanished deeper into the forest, snow began to fall again, erasing every trace of his footprints. Behind them, the deserted station loomed quietly, its frozen metal containers gleaming softly under the moonlight, each one holding secrets never meant to be uncovered. The wind howled through the towering pines like a restless beast hammering at the walls of the humble cabin perched on Pine Hill. Snow danced wildly in ghostly swirls against the windows, swallowing the world beyond in a thick white veil. Inside, Logan moved with swift precision, every step instinctive, crafted by years surviving the unforgiving battles. He had already guided Maya and Noah into the cramped storm shelter, hidden beneath the floorboards, a low-ceilinged refuge once meant for storing provisions. It carried a faint scent of cedar mixed with gun oil. Stay silent, he warned her. No matter what sounds you hear. No. Don't come up until I say so. Maya held Noah close to her chest. The baby whimpered softly, a fragile, piercing sound slicing through the stillness. her wide hazel eyes full of fear locked onto Logan's steady gaze. "Be brave," she whispered. Logan gave a firm nod. In the flickering firelight, his face seemed older, etched with hard lines but calmness. The kind of calm born from knowing the storm ahead. "I've faced worse before," he murmured through the resolve in his voice masked a hidden truth. Echo waited silently at the stairhead. Muscles tight, his tail low. His amber eyes shone faintly in the dim glow. The cabin's air grew thick with tension. Danger had a scent, and both man and dog sensed it deeply. Then came the sound an engine grinding its way up the icy incline. Tires crunched to a stop. Doors slammed harshly. The sharp metallic clicks of weapons being loaded echoed through the raging storm. Logan snuffed out every lamp, leaving only the soft, pulsing glow of the fireplace. Shadows slithered over the walls like creeping smoke. He crouched behind the kitchen counter rifle, poised, breathing slow and controlled. Outside the window, faint shafts of flashlight beams cut through the snowfall. Figures moved 4, maybe 5 men wrapped in dark parkas. Their approach was swift, silent, trained. This was no random chaos, it was a calculated strike. Suddenly, the door shattered with a sharp crack. The wind howled inside, whipping snow and ash into a fury. A voice rang out, rough and relentless. "You can't hide her forever, soldier." Logan's jaw clenched tightly. That voice belonged to Bradley Alton, the same man masquerading as a CPS officer just days before. Now his Parker hood was pulled back, revealing a harsh, angular face. Mid-40s with pale, calculating eyes, hair slicked back from the falling snow. His smirk was cold, the kind unfazed by conscience. Echo growled low in the shadows, a warning that made the intruders stutter. Flashlights roamed across the cabin, reflecting off the glowing eyes of the German shepherd crouched low in the corner. What the one of them stammered. Before he could finish, Echo sprang. The dog's weight crashed into the man's chest, toppling him to the floor. Chaos burst to life, gunfire erupted, wood splintered, and cries were swallowed by the howling storm. Logan moved through the smoke like a ghost, shooting once, twice, controlled, deliberate. The sharp, acrid scent of gunpowder filled the air. A bullet grazed his shoulder. The pain flared hot, but he barely flinched. His training kicked in fully. One attacker tried to flank toward the basement stairway, but Logan caught the silhouette and fired. The muzzle flash briefly lit his fierce, determined expression. He seized a fallen attacker's weapon and slammed the door shut, wedging a chair to bar it. A grenade skittered across the floor, clinking metallically. Logan barely had a moment to react before diving behind the counter, pulling Echo down with him. The blast wasn't deadly, more of a powerful shockwave than outright destruction, but it tore a hole in the sidewall, scattering shards of wood and snow in every direction. Through the thick smoke, Logan caught Maya's cry from below. The explosion must have fractured the shelter wall. He scrambled toward the sound, desperately. Above, the roof groaned under the storm's fierce grip. A beam splintered, plummeting straight toward the open hatch where the baby's cradle had been placed earlier. Echo reacted instantly. In a blur of motion, the dog lunged forward, pushing the beam aside with fierce determination. The hefty timber crashed across his side, but Noah was untouched, crying but safe. Echo Logan shouted. He knelt beside the dog, bracing the beam with one arm, holding his rifle with the other. Echo's chest rose and fell, but his gaze never wavered from the last remaining intruder, Bradley Alton himself. Alton raised his pistol. "You should have stayed away, Pierce." Before he pulled the trigger, a piercing blue light flooded the cabin. Police strobe lights cutting through the raging storm. A commanding voice bellowed through a megaphone, "FBI, drop your weapons." Alton spun around, but it was too late. Amamira Torres smashed through the broken door, clad in tactical winter gear, her dark braid iced over. 2 agents followed closely with rifles raised. Amamira's eyes locked on Logan without hesitation. "You always choose the most dramatic path to hell," she muttered, stepping over a fallen man. Logan offered a faint smile, despite the blood on his arm. You took your time. Within minutes, all attackers were disarmed, cuffed, and dragged out into the blizzard. Amamira knelt beside Echo, examining his injury with gloved hands. He's going to pull through, she said softly. Maya stepped out from the shelter, clutching Noah, tears streaking through soot on her face. She knelt beside Echo, whispering, "Good boy, such a brave good boy." The dog's tail thumped faintly against the floor. Outside, dawn broke, casting a soft, golden glow across the ruined, snow-covered land. The nightmare had finally ended. 1 year later, the cabin on Pine Hill stood restored. The porch light cast a warm glow against the snow, and above the door hung a small wooden sign carved with a paw print and 3 simple words, Echo House. A sanctuary of hope rebuilt and renewed. Inside, laughter echoed brightly. Maya, stronger now, her hair neatly tied back, guided a circle of women through a small workshop teaching crafts and helping them reshape their lives. Amamira, steady as ever, managed paperwork and legal aid. Her sharp professionalism softened by heartfelt care for the place. At the far end of the hall, Logan coached a few children in basic self-defense. A faded scar from that night marked his arm, but now his smile was easier to wear. A small bracelet made from red thread, a gift from Mia, caught the light with every movement. That evening, snow began to drift down again. Logan stepped outside, his heart steady, hands trembling slightly this time, not from fear, but from something far more tender. Maya joined him, cheeks flushed, baby Noah asleep in her arms. Logan knelt in the snow and pulled a small box from his coat pocket. "I've fought for many things in my life," he said quietly, "but never for something I truly wanted until now." Maya's eyes sparkled with awe, her gaze wide and shining. Logan's lips curled into a gentle smile. "Marry me, Maya Quinn." Tears brimmed, yet her voice held firm and clear. Inside that glowing window, Echo, now fully healed, rested quietly beside Noah's cradle. A crimson scarf wrapped tenderly around his neck. The fire's glow danced against the walls, casting golden hues. Outside, snow drifted thicker, soft, and still. The weathered soldier, the woman who had fled the shadows, and the child once lost, along with a devoted dog, had at last grasped the reason behind every battle piece. When the snowfall ceased at Pine Hill, the world seemed to exhale in relief. What began as a night filled with fear had blossomed into a tale of unwavering faith, proof that even in our darkest winters, God's light still breaks through. Sometimes that light doesn't roar like thunder or blaze like fire from above, but shines softly in the brave heart of a soldier who never looks away, in the fierce loyalty of a dog who would risk everything for a child, and in the delicate hope of a woman bold enough to trust again. Each rescue, each act of kindness is a quiet miracle, one we're all meant to pass on. So, as you close this story, pause to think of those around you still lost in their storms. Offer them warmth, a gentle word, a prayer. That's how faith endures through everyday hands crafting extraordinary love. If this story moved your soul, share it with someone who needs to believe that goodness still shines in this world. Leave a comment, tell us where you're watching from, and subscribe to our channel so you never miss these true stories of bravery and grace. And tonight, as snow blankets the world outside your window, may the same God who protected Logan, Maya, Noah, and Echo watch over you as well. May his love be your refuge. May his light find you, wherever you may be.